All right, we're kicking things off here. Let's see if this stuff works. There's always a fun surprise every time I stream with Restream. But hang tight. Okay, looks like that's working. We'll get on over to Instagram. We'll go live. Nice. Okay, I think it's working. And Substack actually has proper support now on Restream, which is super cool. So finally, Substack folks won't have to watch me from the side. Hello on Instagram. Good to see you. Let me get my chat refreshed on my side as well. Hello, hello. We're just getting started here. Okay, I think we're ready to rock and roll. So welcome to the stream. We do these every Monday, 7 p.m. Pacific. This is an AMA style stream if you haven't been here before. And so if you have questions, leave them in the chat. Happy to kind of drop whatever I'm talking about to go answer your questions on software engineering, career development, that kind of stuff. Hey, Devin, good to see you. YouTube is good to go. Thanks for letting me know. But yeah, like Substack, I said this on the last stream, like minutes before. I was like, wait a second, they have support. And I didn't want to risk it right before. So we're trying it out. It seems like it's streaming. That's what Restream is telling me. But today's new surprise is that it looks like TikTok revoked my live streaming ability. I don't know why. It's just like streaming's not allowed. Like press here to apply again. And then when I press it, TikTok's like, you're not allowed to stream. Like, okay. So that's cool. Kind of dumb. But it is what it is. I find like TikTok's a ridiculously difficult platform for me. I don't know. I'm assuming it's because my TikTok videos, like my short form videos in general, aren't like super super exciting. It's like a quick educational topic in a short. So probably people don't love that kind of thing, but it is what it is. I'm not going to go making skits and stuff like that because I have other things to do. But today's live stream topic is going to be on the Lex Friedman and Sundar Pichai interview. And I talked about this on Code Commute. I talked about this on Dev Leader. And then I wrote my newsletter article on it. I thought it was a super cool interview. I'm not sure people have seen it. I also messed up like moments before pressing to stream. I was like, maybe I should see if I can get my computer audio working through the stream. And I think I probably could. So like maybe we'll try it, but also maybe not. I don't know. I'm a little nervous. I know. So Devin's on the stream. So if Devin is willing to test it out, then maybe I will, if he lets me know, and I trust Devin, so maybe I can try giving it a go. But what I would like to do is play the clip and we can all watch it together. Because if you haven't seen it, I think it's a really good clip because well, I'm sure you've connected to the internet in the last year, and everything that you see on the internet's basically software engineers are going to be replaced by AI. Everyone's freaking out about AI, especially if you're a developer. Like, there goes your career. I've had people talking to me on social media that are like, I'm dropping out of college because they're like, I'm not going to get a job because of AI. Like, it's getting wild. And Sundar Pichai, in his interview with Lex Friedman, kind of gave what I feel like is a different perspective than every other tech leader is saying. And to be clear, I'm not suggesting that every tech leader that I've heard of, like Satya or my goodness, Zuckerberg, like I don't hear them saying like, developers, your days are numbered, but they do talk about like and we'll get into this, like the metrics for AI that's writing code, right, versus humans. So that's coming up a lot, but this is the first time I've heard like a tech exec saying like, no, we're hiring more. Like I don't think it's going to replace developers, kind of thing. So maybe we'll give it a go and I'll try to flip over to it. Apologies for not like prepping in advance to do this, but Give me 1 sec. I have to turn on my desktop audio. And what I don't know, I don't think my desktop audio is picking up my own microphone, so that should be okay. I have to assign some channels here. You guys can't see what I'm doing, fortunately, because I barely know. I don't touch this stuff because every time I touch my audio setup, something stops working, and we don't want that. So let me go ahead and change that. I think that should work. Now, what I'm going to do is go over to YouTube in another tab. And then if I search for Jai and Lex. So we'll just do a quick little test here. I think it's this one.
I have to ask you on the
You
programming
guys hear
front.
that? I just stopped it, but because it's going to be a little bit delayed. But if I
AI
let
is
this
getting
play, can
really
you
good
guys
at
hear that?
programming.
Looks like the
Gemini, both
volume's
the agentic and
cranked,
just the
though.
LLM, has been incredible. So
Let
a
me
lot of
know, and then I'll
programmers are
start it
really
again.
worried that their job.
I'm going to stop it. I'll see if Devin's still on the stream or someone can respond and say they could hear the audio. I hate this stupid chat delay. I wasn't showing it, by the way, but sounds good. Okay, cool. Rock and roll. Let me get this pulled up. And what I'm going to do is I will put the link in the chat so you folks can check it out after too. But let me get flipped over here. We'll go full screen. And I guess I kind of want to hear it too. How am I going to do this? I don't want it to come through my mic, so
I have to ask you on the programming front. AI is getting really good at programming. Gemini, both the agentic and just the LLM, has been incredible. So a lot of programmers are really worried that they will lose their jobs. How worried should they be? And how should they adjust so they can be thriving in this new world where more and more code is written by AI?
I think a few things. Looking at Google, we've given various stats around 30% of code now uses like AI generated suggestions or whatever it is. But the most important metric, and we carefully measure it, is like how much has our engineering velocity increased as a company due to AI, right? And it's like tough to measure, and we kind of rigorously try to measure it. And our estimates are at that number is now at 10%, right? Like now across the company, we've accomplished a 10% engineering velocity increase using AI. But we plan to hire more engineers next year, right? So because the opportunity space of what we can do is expanding too, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so
you guys heard that right. Just want to pause it there because that's an important part. They plan to hire more engineers next year, right? So I'll keep going, but I just wanted to make sure I paused and repeated it for those of you that blinked and missed it.
I think hopefully, for at least in the near to midterm, for many engineers, it frees up more and more of the, even in engineering and coding, there are aspects which are so much fun. You're designing, you're architecting, you're solving a problem. There's a lot of grunt work, which all goes hand in hand. But it hopefully takes a lot of that away, makes it even more fun to code, frees you up more time to create, problem solve, brainstorm with your fellow colleagues, and so on, right? So that's the opportunity there. And second, I think it'll attract, it'll put the creative power in more people's hands, which means people will create more. That means there'll be more engineers doing more things. So it's tough to fully predict, but I think in general in this moment, it feels like people adopt these tools and be better programmers. Like there are more people playing chess now than ever before, right? So it feels positive that way to me, at least speaking from within a Google context, is how I would talk to them about it.
I
Okay, so pause there because he's gonna go into like a bit of a he'll change the subject a little bit, but I already see some comments in. Ryan says, I mean, you can say that now, but that to me is more of a PR statement. We're still 6 months away from 2026. Not saying he's wrong, but just saying. Ramsey says they're already hiring. Yeah, I mean, it's like I haven't looked at Google job openings and all that. I haven't done the research, but it's like I feel like even Microsoft has done layoffs and Microsoft is still hiring. I haven't looked at like Amazon. I know Facebook is hiring. I've seen lots of people on my LinkedIn posting like engineering manager roles, software engineering roles. Anthony says programming and chess go hand in hand. I would love to hear more about that. That sounds interesting. But we'll keep going. By the way, like folks, jump in the chat if you have thoughts on what's going on here. Being able to allow anyone to just be able to code sites and all with AI just scares the crap out of me. Yeah, it's interesting, right? Like to Ryan's point, I think like I really think that it's cool that, and I mean this genuinely, right? I've said this on Code Commute videos, I've said it in social media posts, but I really do like the fact that that using AI tools, like whatever it is, right? Whether it's ChatGPT or some of these like builder sites and services that allow people that don't know how to code to make something. I think that's super cool, but there's always a but. The challenge is like when people are confused by it, when they go, "Oh, well, that means I can just push this to production and it's bulletproof." And the reality is like it's absolutely not. It's really not. But I think that it's so cool that it can lower the barrier for people that were like, because I've been doing this for a while, right? And I don't just mean like software engineering. I mean one of the things that I enjoy doing, let me just go back to my own face so I can rant here and talk with my hands. But one of the things that I've been doing for a long time is in my career, I've been trying to help other people become software developers. So I have talked to many people, whether it's online, whether it's, people that I worked with that weren't in a software developer role that want to get into it, whether it's like people I used to go to, high school with and stuff where people are like, hey, I think I want to do this. I want to try. But then they talk themselves out of it and this is before AI. Like I've been doing this for like over a decade, trying to help people. And the common thing is like, I'm just not smart enough. So I'm not going to try. And I'm like, you will never know. You will never know if you even like it if you don't try. Because that's the other thing. You might try it. Maybe you try it and you're good at it and you hate it. I don't know. Like these things are possible. I used to be good at math and I didn't enjoy doing math. So it's in the realm of possibility. But the point is, I've talked with so many people over the last decade plus that will literally talk themselves out of it, won't even start. Nothing to do with AI, just the fact that they don't think that they're good enough. They don't think that they're smart. They don't think that they have some prerequisite. They never get started. And I really like the fact that people can use tools to at least go, holy crap, like I made something. And if it's AI made it, whatever, but they went from having an idea to having code or something that's running. I love that. But like I said, the caveat here is that it gets dangerous when people go, oh, therefore, like either you jump to ridiculous conclusions, like therefore we don't need software developers, or like, haha, look what I made in a 20-minute session versus what you've been building for a year. And it's like, these are very different things. One of these you might be able to go have users and that pay money for a service. The other one is probably about to fall over at any given moment. But I do really like the idea that it kind of lowers the barrier, so to speak, and gets people at least interested. I realize for some people, I've seen this even online, part of this conversation where people go, well, I don't like that because it means there's going to be more competition. And it's like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, then forget the AI thing. You could have been mad at me for trying to help more people get into software development. There's like, there's always going to be more competition. Instead of getting mad about the competition, like focus on the thing that you can control. I'm just going to read some of the comments here. Being able to allow anyone to just be, okay, we read that. Normal hiring and layoff cycle of big tech is more worrying than AI. Yeah, I don't like that. You know, it's kind of weird for me to talk about because I am at Microsoft. There have been layoffs. I like read online there's going to be even more layoffs, like it's specifically with like sales and marketing, I guess. But like, I don't know. I don't like the idea of layoffs. I responded to someone on social media somewhere, but for the context of layoffs, because I do work at Microsoft, this question comes up where people are like, well, what's going on, right? I've had people after rounds of layoffs, people message me on LinkedIn and they're like, hey, like, are you okay? And I can't, like, Microsoft is a huge company. I can't speak for, you know, most parts of Microsoft. I cannot speak for it all. I work in a part of Microsoft that's called Substrate, or within Office 365. It's the platform that the other services can build on top of. And within our organization, like, I don't have the details for how layoffs occur, right? That's way above me. What I have heard in some context is that when it comes time for a decision where layoffs are happening, like, at least from the times I've heard of it, it is not that the CEO goes, guess what, folks, time to lay off, and then he just like says, boom, 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 that's happening. My understanding of how this works is that there is some communication to the different orgs within Microsoft, or this probably works this way at different companies. And there is like the ask that you need to be able to have your profit center more profitable. So you can do that in two ways at a high level. One is you make more money, and the other one is you lower your costs. And my understanding is that it's up to, and I don't know what sort of level in the org, it's up to the business leaders of that org to go, how are we going to make that happen? So it's actually independent. Now, in recent layoffs, in certain situations, I don't know if there were mandates where they were like, you know, this group of people are targeted and they're getting exited. I don't know. But my understanding is that it works that way. The business leaders go make that decision about how to go organize that. Now, with that said, I have also heard from leaders within my organization that they are trying to use creative ways such that we do not have to have layoffs within our organization. And the other thing to add a caveat to there is that, and I've heard one of the leaders in our org say this when they go, listen, when people talk about layoffs, it's basically impossible for me, this is the leader saying this, to say that there are going to be zero layoffs. And they said, that's the case because there's always, like, you know, not mass layoffs, but there's always situations where, regardless of these big sweeping layoffs, where there's individuals getting laid off, like, so to say like there will be zero, they're like, I can't say that because it would be a lie. But they said that within our org, they look for creative ways to make sure that that doesn't have to happen. So in some cases, going back to the sort of the cutting costs versus increasing revenue, it's like, okay, like we can slow down our costs if we're not hiring as much, right? That's one thing when you're forecasting, if you are not growing. So if there's supposed to be an allotment for how much you can, it's like, well, if we dial that back. So different creative strategies. I realize that doesn't sound very creative, but different strategies that they're employing to try and reduce, at least for our organization, the potential impact of that. So anyway, all of that to say, I hate the idea of layoffs. It's a mess, right? Even more ridiculous is when you see people getting laid off, right? So business units getting chopped completely out. And then it's like you also see job openings at the same company. And I've lived, not I'm part of the layoff, but I've lived through periods of people being laid off and there were job openings, and literally was in a conversation that was like a panel with one of our leaders in our org, and someone was like, hi, just curious, like, why aren't people moved over? If we have open positions, why wouldn't we just move them? And I don't know to this day, I don't know the reason why that doesn't happen, but I assume that given the structure and size of the company, that it's basically, I want to say it's infeasible, even though in my head I'm like, it's got to be very possible. But even the leader in that conversation was saying like, if you have names and stuff, like absolutely get their resumes. Let's try to hire them back in. I just don't know why it wouldn't be an internal transfer. So all that, like Devin totally agreed. The cycles for this kind of stuff I think are ridiculous. I'll just say it that way, right? Um, Ryan says, until AI is truly aware of the security, making security number one priority, then it just scares me how many insecure. Yeah, totally agreed. Get some messy stuff there. Hey, Andreas, thanks for joining the stream. Yeah, and Ryan just kind of repeating around the barrier being lowered and security, just not being a thing, which is wild because why isn't that a focus? Like, is it just that the AI was trained on so many things? Like the overwhelming majority of stuff is not secure, so that's what we got probably. Devin says there's been a ton of small 2 to 3 user purely internal apps that I never got to that would have been great candidates for vibe coding. Yeah, I think that's like I think I don't did I think I shared it on the stream. I didn't get to it on this past weekend because I'm just falling behind on stuff, but like I vibe coded the codecommute.com site and then I made YouTube videos for it. I should mention this. My editor's currently not MIA is not the right word. He's a little bit removed right this moment because he's got some family stuff to take care of. So he gave me a heads up. But so I didn't have YouTube videos that went out like last week. I think I had one on Monday. I have a bunch of videos that have been sent to him to edit, but I haven't published any because I'm not going to distract him. He's got some family stuff and I will keep making them, but they're just not getting edited and I don't have time to edit them. So sorry for that. But TechNav, welcome. Good to see you back. Vibe code the world. Yeah, one of these things is not like the other. Hamza says, AI is no different from the rise of other big 10 companies like those in FANG. If you think back when those companies started growing, they created a wave of new jobs. And that trend has continued ever since. Therefore, more and more jobs will still be there. You just need to adapt what's coming and add it into your tools. Hamza, I totally agree with that. Yeah, I think that makes sense. Devin says you already did lead code to get your position, but how does the other internal team know that you still know how to balance a binary tree? It's true. That's why they got to rehire them. They're like, you know what? It's been too long since you balanced a binary tree, right? You reversed a linked list. So yeah, cool. And then Ryan says, yeah, it's a good on the security thing for AI. I'd love to hear feedback from any of the GitHub Copilot, Claude, Gemini, LM teams. Why security isn't a focus on their coding focused AI agents? Yeah, honestly, I just feel like it's probably the way it's been trained. But I mean, these are companies that are building, I'm assuming, building more tailored models, given that they're going to have tools around this stuff. So like, why wouldn't they just like keep reinforcing that? I don't know. And maybe they are. Maybe it's just because we're so early and we're all kind of going through this being like, what the heck? Anyway, let's go back to this video. We'll keep it going.
I just know anecdotally, a lot of great programmers are generating a lot of code.
Yeah.
So their productivity, they're not always using all the code, just, there's still a lot of editing. But like, even for me, it's still programming as a side thing. I think I'm like 5x more productive. I think that.
By the way, I don't know how people arrive at these ridiculous numbers. It's like 10x developer. He says, I'm at least 5 times more productive. I don't know, man. To be honest, I feel like people don't understand how math works because that's like absolutely insane. Like I use AI a lot. And to even say that I'm twice as productive would be like, I think, a pretty ridiculous claim. Google overall, like their CEO just said 10% more productive. I mean, it's a big organization, of course, but like 5 times? Okay, let's keep going though. Sorry.
That's even for a large code base that's touching a lot of users like Google's does. I'm imagining like very soon that productivity should be going up even more.
The big unlock will be as we make the agentic capabilities much more robust, right? I think that's what unlocks that next big wave. I think the 10% is like a massive number. Like, if tomorrow, like I showed up and said, like,
Yeah.
you can improve like a large organization's productivity by 10% when you have tens of thousands of engineers, that's a phenomenal number. And that's different than what others cite as statistics saying, like, like this percentage of code is now written by AI. I'm talking more about like overall
Actual
our
productivity.
actual productivity, right? Engineering productivity, which is two different things, and which is the more important metric. And but I think it'll get better, right? And like, I think there's no engineer who tomorrow, if you magically became 2x more productive, you're just going to create more things. You're going to create more value-added things, and so I think you'll find more satisfaction in your job, right? So
And there's a lot of aspects. I mean, the actual Google code base might just improve because it'll become more standardized, more easier for people to move about the code base because AI will help with that. And therefore, that will also allow the AI to understand the entire code base better, which makes the engineering aspect. That's what I've been using Cursor a lot
yeah,
as a way to program with Gemini and other models. Is like it one of its powerful things is it's aware of the entire code base, and that allows you to ask questions of it. It allows the agents to move about that code base in a really powerful way. I mean, that's a huge unlock.
think about like migrations, refactoring old code bases.
Refactoring, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, think about like once we can do all this in a much better, more robust way than where we are today.
I think in the end, everything will be written in JavaScript and run.
Okay, we're gonna can Lex for saying that. In the end, everything's gonna be written by JavaScript. No, come on, give me a break. Ryan says, honestly, I think the desire to building a truly AI agent is ridiculous right now. I personally think the coding agents that you are going to be building, deploying, should be focused on the programming language that the person's coding. And that's interesting. Is that because of like this, like the, I don't know, like the skill set or like the domain? I wonder that it's just more effective that way. Curious to hear, Ryan, your thoughts on that. This is why I've been super supportive of the whole MCP agent design and all. Each agent is focused on. Okay, I think that's exactly probably what you were saying. Whoever A is, just A, sorry, I don't know your name. If his job was just writing code, then yes, he can become 5x, but software engineering is not coding. Yeah, I guess maybe because I don't know what Lex does in his free time for whatever he's coding. So yeah, maybe he can output 5x more code, perhaps. Epic Technav says, is it aware of the whole, this for Cursor, is it aware of the whole code base though? Like it misses the mark more often than not. Yeah, this is, okay. Flipping back to my face so I can rant a little bit. I rant a lot. I don't know if you guys know that. So when I've been using like a special, okay, VS Code, absolute worst for AI agents. Doesn't matter what model, absolute worst. The default when you're talking to VS Code, like to Copilot and VS Code, when you press enter, it is only the context that you add. So by default, it's only the file you're looking at. I don't know who is using an agent only in the file that they're looking at. I don't know. Like, I don't think that's ever happened to me where I only want the agent to look at the one file. If you control enter, I think it's control enter, then it will basically add the code base tag in. So in theory, now it's got context of the whole code base. But you would think that if it had context of the whole code base, that it wouldn't be so terrible. But it is. It's absolutely terrible. I can't get anything done with an agent in VS Code regardless of the model that's being used. It's an abomination. I can't stand it. I work at Microsoft, by the way. I'm saying this outright. It is terrible. Using chat is a different story. But even so, like when I want the context of my code base, it's just not doing it. Cursor is better in that regard. I don't know why, because it's literally the same thing. You pick from the same sets of models, but when it's pulling the context of the code base, it seems better. It's still not good, because as Epic Technav was saying in the chat, it still misses, like in my opinion, way more often than not. Now, the AI bros will say, well, it's because your prompts are bad. You're not prompting it good enough. And I just have to say that if I have to spend more time prompting than I would have to just actually go write the code, back to what Sundar was saying, it's not a productivity gain then. Now, I do have a lot of room to grow in terms of my prompting, without a doubt. But like, come on, it can't be that bad. I have found that Visual Studio, in my opinion, and so I'm a C# developer for those of you that don't know that. So when I write in C#, it's going to be in Visual Studio. I don't like VS Code for C# because I've sort of grown up on Visual Studio. I do find that Visual Studio does a better job with the context. It still messes up. It's still not like amazing, but it does a better job than the other two from my experience, at least. Again, in C#. The thing that is completely different and blows all of these out of the water by like, I don't know, a landslide. It's nuts. Using GitHub Copilot with pull requests is without a doubt what I expected programming with agents to be like. The whole thing. It has context to the whole repository, just like the other ones do. Why is it different? I don't know, but it does such a good job with using the context of the code base. Can it mess up? Absolutely. Does it mess up? Plenty. But like when I compare what I'm doing in my IDE to like making a GitHub issue and then like going to sleep and waking up, man, it is wild how much better it is from my experience. Now, going back to the AI bros and the prompting, I have written some of the crappiest, most generic, mundane, low detail GitHub issues, and it still does a good job. Like, that's the ridiculous part. I don't have to give it good instructions, and it still does a good job. Now, the more ambiguous you are, then the more you should expect it's going to do weird stuff or not meet your expectations. But that's, I think, a given. It's just very interesting that I don't have to give it absurd structure in GitHub Copilot with the pull requests. I'm just checking the chat. Devin says, agree with Epic. I'm still waiting to be able to point out an existing class or component, get it to emulate the structure and style and creating a new one. So I'll give you an example. Earlier, before this stream, in my code base for Brand Ghost, I don't use Entity Framework Core. Again, if you're not a .NET developer, you might not know what that is. Entity Framework Core is an ORM. So you use it to basically map your data to objects in memory. It's an object relational mapper. So you don't have to go write SQL queries. I like writing the SQL queries and having them, so I use Dapper instead. It's a different ORM. And so I have repository patterns in my code base. They're everywhere. And so I like that. Personal preference. You can disagree. It's not what it's about, but they're everywhere. And they all follow a very similar pattern, right? So create, read, update, delete. Maybe the odd one has a couple of specialized like repository methods. And then there's caching with Fusion Cache. It's the same across like I don't know, like 30 plus different files. There's lots of repositories. Earlier today, before this stream, I said, I need you to make a repository class, and I said use Dapper, use Fusion Cache, and then I said model it after the other repositories in the code base. Maybe I needed to give it a specific one or a list of like 10 of the repositories, I don't know, but it didn't follow any of the patterns. It used Dapper because I told it. It used Fusion Cache because I told it, but like nothing else was the same. It even decided to reduce. I don't know why it does this sometimes. It like just reduced all of the lines. So it left no empty lines between things, and it wrote the SQL queries like on a single line. Instead of like, I don't know if you've read SQL queries that don't make your eyes bleed. They're generally like a little bit, have some verticality to them. Imagine reading an essay and it's all one line. Like, no, you're not going to do that. But for some reason in this class, it was like, I'm doing it. That's how it goes. And then it didn't even compile. So I don't understand. There's so many repositories. Like, why could it not just get it? But anyway, it's super frustrating. Let's go back. We're almost through this video. Sorry for my tangents and ranting.
In Chrome. I think it's all going to that direction. I mean, just for fun, Google has legendary coding interviews, like rigorous interviews for the engineers. How can you comment on how that has changed in the era of AI? It's just such a weird, the whiteboard interview, I assume, is not allowed to have some prompts.
Such a good question. Look, I do think, we're making sure, we'll introduce at least one round of in-person interviews for people
Yeah.
just to make sure the fundamentals are there. I think they'll end up being important. But it's an equally important skill. Look, if you can use these tools to generate better code, I think that's an asset. And so, I think so. Overall, I think it's a massive positive.
Cool. So, what'd you guys think? Curious to hear. I have my thoughts because I made videos and stuff on it already. But do you think that that's more feasible versus the other side that we've been hearing everyone else talk about? Like, basically all of the media, right? All of the media, there's articles, there's videos on, like, AI taking developer jobs. It's always accompanied by the graph that shows, like, basically the peak of developer jobs and it's falling off a cliff kind of thing. Are developers cooked? Or do we believe what Sundar is saying? Is there somewhere in the middle? But would love to hear what you guys have to say. I'll keep rambling until there's some chat messages. But the when I've talked about this has been sort of my take, what Sundar was saying. And so there's a lot of like confirmation bias that I get when I watch this, and I'm like, see, like I must be right. But it's, no one has a crystal ball. Like, even Sundar says it. I'm like pointing with my chin like at Sundar on my screen, and you guys can't tell what I'm doing, but Sundar, what's up? So like he says, I don't know, but this is what I foresee, right? So it's the same, obviously, for me. I'm sure he has a much better idea than me, but my take is that it's not going to like eliminate jobs. I think it was kind of said in the chat already today, and it's like it's going to change things. It's not going to eliminate jobs. Stefan says, can a CEO really say what he thinks? Anything he says will probably affect stock price. Yeah, I mean, it's true, right? That's why I think that a lot of people, a lot of like tech leaders are doing the opposite, right? We got AI to sell you. We got AI this, we got AI that. Like, all we're going to do is talk about how it's revolutionizing everything, and anything to draw attention to it. Like, especially because I think that there's a lot of people that run businesses where they're like, hold on, you're saying that, one of our biggest costs is headcount. And you're telling me we don't need as many heads to get the same amount of work done? I think that's probably what crosses a lot of people's minds. So you have these tech leaders that are talking about this in a particular way, as well as the media that's all doom and gloom on this stuff. Now, I've talked about the media side of this on Code Commute, and I don't like getting to tinfoil hat here, but I think that the way media works in general is like, and this is the same for social media, it needs to evoke emotion in you. If you are afraid, especially, it works very well to get your attention. It works extremely well. If you're curious, right? And if you don't believe me, this is why you see so many stupid YouTube thumbnails where people are like, right? They do that because it works. and no one likes it. Everyone's like, that's so stupid. Why do you make stupid thumbnails where you're making the dumb YouTube face? They do it because it works. Analytics show it works way better than anything else. Why? Because it makes you curious. It draws your eyes. Having a face on a thumbnail, there's stats that will show that there is like statistically more likely that you're going to go. I think even if you're reading stuff like on social media, if there's a face, you will pause longer. Humans pause longer to look at faces. It's just a thing we do. Same with text on thumbnails. If you put text on thumbnails, it's better. I don't know what the right word is. Better if you're scrolling through stuff and kind of like it'll catch your eye more if it's on the left side. If you put text in the bottom right, it will not catch your eye as much. Even the thumbnail that I have here is a bad example. I put the text in the center. It should go up here. Right? All these little things are designed to draw your attention in a particular way. Right? So when it comes to news and media, they've been doing this for way longer than social media has been around. It's designed to make you like borderline panic the whole time. Turn on any news channel. How much good news do you see? Approximately zero. Because that's not what gets people to watch the news. So you have, like, I don't think that where my tinfoil hat comes off is I don't think the media is necessarily designed to, like, I don't know, like, cause bad things. I think it's designed because it's a business. They have ads on the other side of it. They need you to go watch or click and read. So they will draw you in, especially if it's fearful. So we have a ton of that put in front of us as software developers, right? It's coming from all angles, everything in the news, plus you have like tech executives that are kind of talking about this stuff. Then you add in that you have all of these new people who have never been able to code going, oh my God, I can do your job, because they had code that got written and happens to compile and or run. So it's like it's coming from all angles. So I really wanted to cover this video. That's why I've done, like, you know, code commute video. I did a dev leader video. I did a newsletter, and I'm doing the live stream on it. I wanted to keep talking about it because I don't think we see enough of this from the other side, where it's not someone going, yeah, guess what? Like, you basically got 5 months until all of the code is written by AI and we don't need you. Because that's what we hear from everyone else. Andre says, I'd like to see an AI agent dealing with the company policies and spaghetti code. Yeah, like, I don't know. I don't know who's going to be better with spaghetti code, AI or people. AI might complain less, but Jose says, devs are delusional, 70-90% reduction in 5 years. Devs are delusional about what? That you think there's a 70-90% reduction in 5 years? Or the devs that think that are delusional? That sentence needs a little bit of restructuring, I think. Devin says, where Sundar is right is using AI as a force multiplier. Yeah, the companies that understand that as opposed to a way to cut headcount will do well. I agree. This is my my take, right? That exactly is my take. And so I'm just gonna, by the way, I didn't share this at the beginning, but this is the newsletter article I wrote about it. So let me just plug this for a moment. If you're enjoying this live stream and you want to join next week or the week after, I write a newsletter article called Dev Leader Weekly. It'll actually be issue 100 this weekend coming up, which is nuts. That's really cool to think about. Like 100 newsletter issues. So it's at weekly.devleader.ca. It's an email newsletter. You absolutely do not have to subscribe to it. You can check it out like a blog post. It goes out on Saturdays. So if you're like, hey, live stream was kind of cool, I wonder what's going to be the next topic, just go to weekly.devleader.ca. You can check Saturday, Sunday, or Monday. Or just show up because it's going to be awesome no matter what. But yeah, so I wrote this newsletter article And one of the things I talk about in here, and I think I talk about it in the YouTube video I made, is this idea that like, and I still don't know the right words, even though I wrote a little bit more about it. But I think that I hear a lot of people talking about AI and kind of like replacing developers, as in, if we think about software engineering work, as in, say you're at a company, you have a product or a service, and the bucket of work is this big. So if you have a bucket of work that's this big and you have X number of developers, if you add in AI, then in theory, what you should be able to do is remove developers because you have this much work, right? If you have something that you're adding that can do that work, you don't need a developer to do it. So it's kind of like a zero sum kind of thing, or like it's bounded, it's constrained. There's a finite amount of work to do. And when it's finite and you add workers, even if they're AI, then you don't need the other types of workers. And I think this is like, it seems to be the number one framing that I see coming up everywhere. To Devin's point, it's like, that's how you would reduce headcount, right? You could say, let me get rid of the people because they cost way more. For those of you that don't know, in software development companies, like, I don't know, maybe not every software development company, depending on what else they're doing, but employing people is a huge cost, right? It's a huge cost that you incur for having people on. So back to the thing I said earlier around layoffs, again, I'm not in favor of them. I'm just giving you some framing. If your options are to increase revenue by $100,000 within this year, or you can reduce your costs by $100,000, you could probably reduce your costs by $100,000 like that. And I'm not saying it's good. I'm just saying it's a little bit easier. So I often think that that's what happens, is like it's the easy way to make that math work. Now, yeah, and then so Devin, to the next point I want to say, Devin said it in the chat. Tell me with a straight face that you've ever worked at a place where the backlog was empty. So the reason that I think that this whole framing is flawed, personally, this is my take on it. You're absolutely welcome to disagree. I'm not going to like blast people in the chat or whatever. Like it's an AMA. I want people to share their perspectives and stuff too. But my take on this is exactly as Devin said. The work is not finite. I have never worked. I've been, in the industry. I had 2 years of internships, plus this summer it will be 13 years. So like 15 years of writing software as an engineer and a software engineering manager. So 13 of those years were as a manager. At startups, all of my internships were at very small companies. I worked at a startup after school for 8 years. Now I work in big tech for the last 5 years. I have never, ever seen a backlog that's empty. I've never seen a backlog that has a finite amount of work. And sorry, I'm using terms like backlog here. You might say, well, then you might be doing agile wrong if the no, I just mean the amount of work that we want to get done is never overall shrinking. There is always more stuff to do, new priorities. I would wager most of the time in my career has been spent trying to prioritize whatever the newest high priority thing is, the newest P0 thing, trying to say, we have to shift our focus to this thing, but we're already doing this thing over here. And it was the P0. Oh no, like what do we do? How do we start getting focused to this one now? It's always that. It's never like, oh, thank God we got this one done and we only have one thing left before the service is done or the product is done for forever. It doesn't happen. So in my mind, I just don't see that as like a thing where you get rid of all the developers, and then you go, cool, like the AI churned through the code and now we're done. And like, even if you're saying, okay, well, I also don't agree it's going to be done, I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, why wouldn't you augment your developers so that they can go do more stuff, and then you can use the AI to do all the, like Sundar was saying, all the crappy stuff that no developer wants to do. Could you imagine? Let's imagine a world where AI agents are very, very, very good at refactoring legacy code and migrating patterns in your code base to the new standards that you want. They're very good at taking the brittle code, and they can say, great, we're going to take this apart. We're going to make sure that there's test coverage on it. We're going to restructure it this way. And imagine, I know we're not there, but imagine that we were, and you could be like, cool, on the weekend, I'm going to let this stuff run for our company. And it's going to go through, and it's going to, because we're pretending here that it's going to do a very good job refactoring and testing all the legacy code. Basically, you have stuff that can constantly migrate your patterns and practices to be the very best. Imagine that we had that, and then you could just focus on building all the cool stuff. And sorry, maybe you actually like the, the tech debt and all that other stuff, which is totally fine. So pick something else that you wanted to do, right? There is so much in terms of a code base over time that no matter how much effort you put into it, you could say, hey, wherever, we're cleaning up as we go. On every commit, we're going to add some cleanup. You can. Right? You can. I can still basically guarantee that over time your code base rots. It just will happen. And it's because it's really hard to prioritize some of the legacy refactoring and stuff if we're never going to have to go touch it, or rarely touch it. There's a question on Instagram. This is from Aban, I believe. Sorry if I have your name incorrect. What is your say on new developers using GPT or AI for everything and ignoring cores and basics? I think the obvious answer that I want to give here is I don't think it's a good idea. And it's because they're accomplishing different things. So I think that if you want to use AI to be able to generate code or to make features or products or services, whatever, it's a tool that can do that. It is also a tool that could help you learn. But I think what happens is that we have people that are junior or just getting started out, and what's happening is every human wants a shortcut. Doesn't matter. Pick you name an industry, a domain, you name it. We all want shortcuts, right? Imagine for work, if you could just, snap your fingers and you could have the highest paying job in the company. Imagine you could snap your fingers and you could be retired and you didn't have to work. We want that shortcut. Imagine, I'm just going to make up a bunch of examples now. Imagine you wanted to be a professional basketball player and you weren't like me that's 5'4" and has no basketball skills at all. If you could just snap your fingers and had a shortcut, you would do it, right? If you wanted to go to the gym to get shredded or you wanted to get big and strong, if you could snap your fingers and do it, we all want a shortcut. And I think what happens when you have really junior developers, they're going, I want to be a good developer. Good developers can make things. So look at me. I can also make things. I'm using AI to do it. The problem is that you're not actually learning anything, or I should say you're not learning anything. You're minimizing your learning. You are optimizing how much code gets output, and you are minimizing your learning about what you're doing. And I think that's the biggest risk. Right? It's the same, just to give you an example. Imagine you're trying to put your resume together. Okay? So this is I think something that is probably relevant for a lot of people. You're, early in your career, maybe you haven't started yet, you're trying to go for your first job, and you're like, I don't have experience. And then one of the things that, everyone, including myself, will say is, well, you got to go build projects. And you go, okay, I'm going to build the projects. That way I can stack them up for my resume. So what you do is you follow the tutorials online and you basically copy the code over from the tutorial and now it's running and you go, great. Yes, I have it. I'm adding that to my resume as a side project. And you repeat that. I have 5 side projects, and all of them you basically followed the tutorial. You copied and pasted the stuff from the YouTube video, the GitHub repository, the blog entry, whatever. At the end of that, you have your 5 side projects, and not a single one of them you understand how it actually works. You prioritize the wrong thing. You said, I wanted to have something on my resume. But when I'm talking about building side projects, I'm saying you need to build them so that you can learn the things, right? For me personally, if you have side projects on your resume and they're not complete, they're just like things that you were learning about, in my opinion, hell yeah, I care about that. I'm interested in seeing that you didn't have some experience with X and you were like, I'm trying to learn X. I tried making a thing. Cool. That tells me that you are interested in learning. You're putting effort into it. I'm interested in that. I think that's a great quality. That is the kind of thing that if you were in the interview, I would say, tell me about all these things that you're building. It sounds interesting. What did you learn? So you can use AI tools for this stuff, but people generally don't because they're just looking for a shortcut. So what you could do is pick anything that you're building. You could use AI for it, but you should be questioning it. You should be getting it to quiz you on things, testing your understanding. You should get it to give you, like, point you in the right direction, not give you the code. Then you try it out. Then when you're stuck, then you ask it for help. All right, we have all of these opportunities to use AI this way for learning, and we don't. Because why would you? Right? We're all looking for a shortcut. So I'm just trying to encourage people to think about that a different way. So hopefully, again, sorry if I'm getting your name wrong, Aban. I hope that is helpful. That's my take on it. The other thing that I'll quickly add is that I do wonder, I mean this genuinely, I wonder if there is a world where we fast forward and all of the people that started coding, like basically purely using LLMs and vibe coding their way to the future, I genuinely wonder if there is a future where that happens to be more effective. I have a hard time believing that, but I will be the first to say that I can't say that it's impossible. So I'm keeping an open mind. I don't encourage people to do that. Hope that helps. Hey, Unstoppable. I don't know if you joined the stream and left, but if you're still there, hello. Do I maintain a prompt library? I don't. I probably should. I'm starting with like my Copilot instructions. It's been something I've been doing more. But I've already found, like, across a few repositories, like there's some parts of the Copilot instructions where they're very similar. And so I'm like, okay, do I need to need to refactor my prompts and stuff, my instruction to something more common? So I don't know yet. If I take it the way that I would code, I need to sort of duplicate it a bunch of times to see more patterns, to go, okay, every single time I write Copilot instructions, here's how they look. Or I'm doing this prompt enough, right? Like, it's literally just like code in that sense. I'm doing it enough. Maybe I should have it saved so I can reuse it later. So that's my take. Like, I probably will do more of that. I just haven't started organizing prompts that way. I don't know how to pronounce your name. I'm sorry. Reito? Again, apologies. I'm terrible with names. I'm trying to make myself say them out loud, though, because this is one of those things, just total tangent. I genuinely believe that when you feel like you're bad at something, if you avoid it, you will just keep getting worse because you never practice it and you'll keep fearing it or resenting it. I've done this for too long with names. I am very nervous to say people's names incorrectly because I don't want to offend them. So that's why you will hear me try to pronounce them. And I'm very sorry if I get it wrong. I don't mean to offend. I just don't know how to pronounce them. So what kind of projects do you think are outstanding as a junior dev? And do you have any advice which fields beside web dev? Yeah, yeah, like it's a tricky question, right? So on the second part, any advice for which fields beside web dev, what do you enjoy? Like in any of these fields that are related to programming, like jobs exist. I'm not minimizing that it's difficult to get jobs right now, but there are jobs. Like if you really like embedded development, not a lot of people talk about it. You could do that, right? Like you could do mobile. You could make, there's phone apps and stuff. You could make that instead. There's still a market for desktop development. Still, right? A lot of people say, oh, well, no, it's just going to the browser. Like, sure, lots of it has, but there's still a market for desktop development. So I think that for me to answer that question for you, it's really difficult because I would do, this is going to sound funny, I would do what my mother always told me, which is like, you have to do something that you love. Because if I told you, I don't have stats on this, but I said, if I told you, you know what, web development's going to be the best for you to make the most money, I don't know, like, is that what you're trying to optimize for even? Like, it's not really for me to make that decision. It feels kind of crappy for me to say that, right? So there's lots of different fields. I think one of the things that's super cool about software development is you pick any single industry you can possibly imagine. Pick one. Anything. Pick the most random industry that you can think of. It can benefit from software. And if you're like, yeah, but they don't make software for that, guess what? You can go make a ton of money then because no one's using software there yet. So go do that. Right? Like every industry can benefit from software. I will stand behind that. You name one, you throw it in the comments if you think that you're going to trick me and it can't benefit from it. There's something that you can benefit from. And then what type of project do I think is outstanding as a junior dev? I probably have a different take on this. I think a lot of people are like, oh, I have an app that has like, thousands of monthly active users. Like that's super cool. I think that's great. Probably demonstrated a lot of things, but I'm not focused on you making money from it. I'd be more interested in like, oh, 1,000. Okay. Like, cool. Like, how did you scale to that? Like, did you need to design software in a way that lets you scale to that? So I'm less curious about, or less, impressed by you making money off a project. I just want to see that you were trying to learn things. That's all. So when some people say like, oh, like, to do apps are dumb or like, whatever template app, I'm like, look, if you're just following a tutorial, copying and pasting the code, sure, it's not helpful. It's not really going to help you learn, and it's not going to be impressive for a resume. But there's nothing to say that you couldn't take a to-do app and then start building tons of interesting complexity into it to try different technology and stuff out. Like I built a to-do app that can sync across different platforms, and it's like, it has, AI built into it so that when I write my notes, it like kicks off automated workflows. Like you could do so much cool stuff with that. And the meta point in answering this question is really just like, I just want to see that you're learning about different things. Because as a software developer on my teams, I expect that you will have to go learn things, and ideally quickly because you're interested. That's what I want to see. LLMs killed Stack Overflow. Perhaps, yeah. If the dev can't explain the code, reject the PR. Yeah, I mean, how do you test for that? I don't necessarily disagree with that. I would say if you have a team of developers that can't explain the code, reject it for sure. Devin says, layer on more and more instructions is probably the way to go, but there's an element of you just need to prompt better, bro. Yeah, some of that should just be built in. Exactly. This is the whole AI bro argument is like, yeah, prompt better. Make the tool better. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Game and Yoon, welcome. I love Dev Leader. Well, I love you too, man. Or shouldn't assume your gender. I don't know these things. Friend, love you too, friend. There we go. Epic Tech Nav, embedded software and C++ job market is booming. Is it? I actually don't know. But that would be super cool, right? I don't have. Oh, and then TechNav says, I had some friends transition to C++ and find success. Very cool. Good to know. I see. I don't know who's sending these messages on LinkedIn because the names don't come up. Let me check so we can have a little conversation. I think it's supposed to say AI is going to slaughter web dev. Okay. Is it? Source, trust me, bro. Rado, oh, right. I got the pronunciation. Nice. Okay. And I love hardware stuff like IoT and embedded, but the market is so small in my country. Do you think nowadays is more important to good domain knowledge rather than my technical skill? No, I think like honestly, it's a balance of all these things. So I trust me when I say this, and this is from my own experience as someone that thinks this way, and also from talking to tons and tons of people. This, by the way, this is like not my full-time job, but this is just what I do because I like to be able to try and help, especially for people getting started. As software developers or people that think this way, we try to like optimize everything, which is great. It's very good. But the problem is that it can be paralyzing, right? So in a situation like this, like, and Rado, I don't mean to pick on you or single you out. I think it's just a good example of a comment. So thank you for sharing. The comment is, do you think nowadays it's more important to get good at domain knowledge rather than my technical skill? Like, no. And then would I say no domain knowledge? Like, also no. And you didn't mention soft skills. Like, also include those. Like, you need all of them. Right. And the reality is that if you are spending time building things, if you're trying to do the things that you would be doing on the job and you are practicing those things in as representative as a manner as possible, then you are actively practicing the things that go into software development. I think that's what you need to do, right? Like, so ideally, if you could work with at least one or two other people building something that you're interested in a domain that you're interested in, using technology that you like boom, 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 checking all these boxes, like that's ideal. Is that going to happen every time? Probably not. Personally, I didn't like to build stuff with people before. And that's because for me, coding has always been like a little bit of an escape. I can go like, I can just ignore the world and kind of program. It's my spot to be in. So I've always liked that for my side projects. And then probably a good few years back now, because I'm old, but like I had a colleague that I was working with, and we were talking about, so for those of you that don't know, I have like a hobby role-playing game that I built on the side. It's never going to be finished, that kind of thing, just sandbox for me to program in. And we were talking about like game systems, and he was like, oh, it would be really cool like if you could do like this or that. We were talking about, got some crazy ideas for like dialogue systems that basically by interacting with more of the NPCs of particular like races or cultures, the more that you're interacting with them and like building up rapport with them, if they speak different languages, the more that the text actually starts to come through and understandable. So you can like literally learn the languages. And then we said, what if it worked the other way and the NPCs could learn your language? Like the most ridiculous complex systems for RPGs. And I was like, hey man, like, why don't you try building that? Like, I think that's super cool. And that was like the first time that I really felt like I'm going to invite someone into like my bubble on this. And we build stuff all the time. So, I would encourage people to try and emulate what happens in the real world. That's also why when people talk about lead code, I'm like, if you enjoy doing lead code, like hell yeah, go do it if you enjoy it. It will help you with your interviewing, unfortunately, because people interview for that. I think that it does not have the carryover to real programming scenarios that most people do, especially if you're just like memorizing them, because I don't think it's representative of mostly what we do. Gaming Union says, for embedded systems, wouldn't one also need hardware knowledge? Yeah, of course. It's a different framing, right? you get into, like, I would say, just because I was talking about lead code, some of the stuff you probably care more about from like a lead code perspective in embedded, because you're doing interesting optimizations a lot of the time. You have more interesting constraints, right? You don't have as much, and this depends on what you're building, right? But like, you don't have unlimited storage. You don't have, the fastest CPU in the world. You don't have unlimited memory. You have resource constraints. There's probably not as many libraries compared to like React. So you might be building some of your own stuff. And that's cool. It's different. So do you need hardware knowledge? I would say you can still learn it for sure, right? Because you have to understand things about like, you have, and it depends what you're building, right? If you're just like, I'm running something on a processor and it's not doing anything, it's maybe abstracted enough these days. I haven't done embedded since like my internships, but most of the time you're building embedded stuff, you're interfacing with like, you have inputs and outputs, whether that's lights or sensors or motors, whatever. Like there could be a million different things. So you will need to understand that concept. But I think a lot of the stuff that you can go get, like Raspberry Pis and whatever else for building, they will give you the guidance around that. And then you can use ChatGPT to ask a question. So I wouldn't, on the hardware front, I wouldn't be like nervous if you're like, oh, I don't know anything about it. That's cool. I will be the first to say 5 years ago, I applied to Microsoft. I had only built, not only, but I had never done distributed systems. I'd never had code running in a data center anywhere, never done it. I applied for Microsoft. I got hired into the deployment team for Office 365, where we have to deploy hundreds of services to hundreds of thousands of machines across the planet. Right? Like, you will learn these things. It's okay. Epic Tech Nav says, for everyone here, stop copying tutorials, just start building and find the code snippets and info as you go. Yeah. This is so true. You don't have to do it that way, but I feel like you should. The people, like I was saying earlier with the shortcuts, right? People want shortcuts. And if you're feeling like this is painful, this is hard, or I'm stuck, like we don't like that. We try to avoid it, but that is literally the thing that's going to help you learn. Like you have to hit that. You have to get stuck. Because when you find the solution after getting stuck, I don't know, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a biologist or a psychiatrist or anything with the brain, but I feel like there's probably some data on this, but I feel like if you are not getting stuck on things and you're simply getting solutions, you will not retain it effectively. Game and You says, hit the like button. Yeah, smash the bell. Do people do that? Like to get notifications? Is that a thing? I don't even know. Like, subscribe, comment below for the algorithm. And Aban, sorry, I just going back to Instagram. Is it worth getting? I think I see AZ204. Like I'm assuming Azure 204 certification is my last software engineering. I'm learning things from past year, and I'm thinking about getting that. My take on certificates for software development is like, get them if you are interested. I would say my take is please do not try to collect them in hopes that that's going to be the thing that gets you hired. I have never, and sorry for anyone that, like, I'm not trying to minimize this. I have never been in a hiring conversation where someone said, oh, but they have so many certificates. It just doesn't happen. So I would say if it's an interest to you, absolutely pursue it, right? I am totally of the mindset that if you want to learn more, right? That's why if people are like, oh, you don't need college or university to be a software developer. You certainly don't. But if you wanted to go spend years and get more education further on that, like, I think that's awesome. If you want to go to a boot camp, because you want to learn more. I think that's awesome. I reviewed someone's resume. It's one of the last ones I put up on my channel, I think, or it's not posted yet. I think it's up. There was someone who had been to university, and like 5 years later, they went back to a boot camp. Right? They're just trying to improve their learning. So I would never tell people like don't. If you're trying to learn more things, go do that. I think it's helpful. Yeah. So, and then Aban says it's a backend developer certification, which is what I do and I want to do. Yeah. So I think, you know, if you enjoy it, then absolutely, right? If you want to learn more, I know someone I used to work with who I was trying to help transition from a different role into a developer role. He has said, and I've seen him, I haven't seen him post on LinkedIn in ages, but I have seen him engage in comments where people on LinkedIn were like, oh, certificates are dumb. And he was like, look, he's like, I actually enjoy taking them because for me, it's a guided way to go learn about things that I would struggle with otherwise. So great. Like that's an awesome tool for him to go learn. But Rado says, what do you think about the future of blockchain? Oh, I just don't care anymore. To be honest, I'm so exhausted by blockchain conversations. Sure, like the technology is there, but like how many years has it been? And what's using it? Like I'm not saying that it can't be useful, but I think the big problem is that it's never the technology when it comes to crypto. It is never the technology. It's unfortunately tied to everything's a token, everything has a monetary value. And as a result, the only thing that you will continue to see until something changes is people gaming it. Every single time. It is purely PvP with other people. People put money in, and then people extract the money from the pool of money. So blockchain as a technology, I think there is benefits to it. I think there's use cases it solves. But when everything's just a token, it's like, it's really difficult for me to see past that. So I'm just steering completely clear of it. Yeah. It's just pump and dump, not a real environment to invest. Yeah. I know people that have made lots of money from it. I've seen people lose tons of money. I just will not, yeah. Devin says crypto bros and AI bros in a cage match over who gets the compute. Yeah, that's the real thing. Cool. Okay, we're past 8, folks. I am going to wrap up. So I didn't even read much from my newsletter, but I shared the newsletter link. So let me get flipped over to full screen. Screen sharing. So this is my YouTube channel, Dev Leader. I think most of you probably know because you're coming from there. But this is the channel where I have, you can see that was the first video up there, right? So you can check out my review. Basically, it's a lot of what we talked about in this live stream, but if you want to check it out, it is up there. You'll also notice I have resume reviews up here as well. So if you're interested in having your resume reviewed, I'm a little bit behind, to be totally honest. So I do apologize if you've submitted your resume and I have not made a video. I didn't get to it. And I already mentioned on this stream, my video editor is currently out. So there's going to be a big catch up. So I do apologize. I will get to them though, I promise. So if you want your resume reviewed for free, just watch one of the resume review videos. They're some of the least watched videos on my channel, unfortunately. But I think they're some of the most helpful personally. I've had a couple of people now message me to say that they're getting interviews. Like, that's all I can ask for, right? It's free for you, cost me money for the video editor, but I want to do that for you folks that are interested. But yeah, C# tutorials, there's a podcast. I did a podcast interview on Friday. I did one today. I have one on Thursday or Friday this week. So there's a few more queued up, which is cool because I took a little bit of a break from that. But that's that. Code Commute is my other YouTube channel. I explained a little bit earlier that Code Commute is my vlog channel where what I will generally do is throughout the week when I'm commuting, as you might suspect from the title, I set up a camera in my car and I talk about software engineering topics. And if I'm not commuting a lot, then sometimes I'll post up in my office right here with my little mic. I think people were poking fun about the tiny little mic. Gotta hold it like this. When I'm driving, it's clipped onto my seatbelt. But this is a channel that's all driven by questions that you want answered. So kind of like on this live stream where people post in the chat, I'll answer it on the live stream. But if you want like a full video on a topic, just go leave a comment on a video. I'm happy to go answer it for you. You can pick any video you want. It doesn't have to be related, and just leave a comment. You can message me on social media as well. The comments are kind of nice because I feel like it probably helps the algorithm in some way. But if you have something that's more lengthy or you want to keep personal because you want to be anonymous when you ask it, just message me. You will be kept anonymous. But this channel for me is a ton of fun. People also asked for it, so I'll keep sharing it. But it's at spotify.codecommute.com, which goes to the Spotify channel. People were saying, I like Code Commute, but I don't have YouTube Premium and I watch it when I'm doing chores. Could you put it up on Spotify? So I am currently uploading every week until I've caught up 20 episodes. I think I'm just over halfway now, so it's still going to take a little while, but I'm catching up on Code Commute. So all the YouTube videos will make it here eventually, but I think I'm at 5 seasons now. 5.5 seasons. Each season is 30 videos, so over 150, so just past half. So you can check out Code Commute on Spotify. Otherwise, I have courses available on Dome Train, primarily focused on C#, but not only C#. So these 2 courses here are 11.5 hours for getting started in C#. They're intended for people that have no programming experience, at least to start with the getting started one. And then the deep dive one goes a little bit deeper into that. It's really difficult when I read through the reviews. Some of them are like, oh, amazing, 5 stars. And then some people will be like 0 or like 1 star, 0 stars, whatever. Like the getting started wasn't beginner enough, or the deep dive wasn't deep dive enough. And I'm like, oh man, like you can't, you can't cover everything in two courses. But I'm really proud of those. I'm proud of all my courses, but it was really cool to be able to make these for Dome Train. If you're not a .NET developer, Dome Train is run by Nick Chapsis, who is arguably, aside from Tim Corey, I think, I don't know their subscriber count, but Nick Chapsis is one of, if not the biggest C# YouTuber in the world. So to be able to have the getting started courses on his course platform is a bit of an honor for me personally. I think that's super cool. Otherwise, there are some courses on like career development, soft skills. I partner with Ryan Murphy, who is an engineering manager at Yelp. So we got some of those going on if you're interested, and then some more C# courses. Still with me? Go buy all those courses. If you check, the sale has changed. This one's different now, but there are pretty regularly there's sales. So I would say, like, you know, just letting you know, if you don't see a sale and you're like, I don't need it right now, like wait a little bit. There's probably going to be a sale, which is great. Great for you, not for me because I get less money for it, but I do appreciate if you want to check those out. Otherwise, the last thing that I will be sharing is Brand Ghost. Brand Ghost is the SaaS that I am building on the side. This is what I use for posting all of my social media content. It's been kind of cool. I've shared this on live streams now, and I've had a couple people from live streams that have signed up, which is great. You know, if you don't have to be a content creator necessarily. If you want to do some learning in public, it's literally totally free. Boom. There's a free tier. You don't have to pay anything. You don't have to put a credit card into it. You can literally cross-post and schedule for free across social media platforms. If you see how I post on social media, like I know Devin, for example, interacts with me across every platform. Aside from the comments that I post, like all of my content is done through Brand Ghost. So I create it. Brand Ghost posts all of it. I shared my calendar. I think it's probably a good thing that I share my Brand Ghost calendar when I come on these streams. Give me 1 second. I'm just pulling it up. But I share it so that you can see Like, I don't schedule this stuff. This is what Brand Ghost does for me. So one sec, let me pull this tab over. Right, so this is my social media schedule across all my platforms. Let me do this. Move this over. Right, like, this is one day of posting. This is for a few different things, though. This one's actually a test thing. That's got to go away. Someone was adding some stuff on here they shouldn't have been. But anyway, that's a little bit inflated. Let's pick another day, right? All this stuff pre-scheduled. This is done indefinitely, by the way. I never have to go schedule content again in my life. I just create it. So basically, if you see a post go up on social media, it's through Brand Ghost. Sometimes I comment through Brand Ghost, so we built an aggregate social media feed so I can respond to your comments all from one spot. But sometimes I'm already on the platform and I'm responding to things. So it is not content that's written by AI. It's all my content. We have AI helpers and like suggestions and stuff like that, but I just use it so that I don't have to schedule my content anymore. So with that said, if you're interested in getting started, it is totally free. If you are more serious and you want some of like the more advanced functionality, like I was just explaining, there's a paid tier. And I will remind people, if you're like, not really for me, if you have a business, okay, if you have a business and you're like, I don't have time for the social media part, I think I need to hire someone, I don't know, you could get started with Brand Ghost for free. You could try scheduling and cross-posting. Then when you build some momentum, you could try out the paid tier, because I think it's $30 a month for the first tier. Then you're not paying a human being for it. As soon as you have some content added that you can repost in the future, by the time you hit that point in time and you have a bunch of content built up, you have to create less content. Some people don't know this. I haven't written a technical blog since April of 2024. Every single day, I post a blog article link. Every single day. Because I have like 300 blog posts to link to. The same with my YouTube videos. Right now, if you check, every day at 2 p.m. Pacific, I post a YouTube video. A link to a YouTube video, to be clear. It's posting still from like sometime like almost 2 years ago. It's got a lot of content to go through. So it's really cool, even for those YouTube videos. Like some of them they haven't been watched in a long time, and I'll see a spike in views because it got shared on social media. So if you are trying to get a little bit more going on with your business, you can try Brand Ghost out. If you're curious how it can help, just message me. I'm happy to talk to you about it and get you started off. With that said, folks, we're all done here. Thanks so much for being here. Thanks for the regulars for the constant support. I don't know, like I can't tell you how cool that is, like that people keep coming back. Like I think that's super awesome. My wife really likes to watch like law live streams where they're streaming court, and then she listens to like social media influencer lawyers that are legitimate lawyers, but they do live streaming, and she loves it. So she's always like watching it. I'm like, man, like they're doing such a good job live streaming, and I'm like, one day we'll be there. So I appreciate all you being here. I can't do it without all of you. So hopefully we'll see you next week. And like I said, if you have stuff that you want answered in the meantime, head over to Code Commute, leave a comment on something. I will film you a full video just for you and anyone else who's watching Code Commute. So I will see you next time. Take care.